Hello, chart watchers, and welcome to this Wednesday, August 7th, 2019 Chartwise Women's Show with your hosts, Erin Swenlin and Mary Ellen McGonigal. I am so glad you're joining us today, and we hope we will see you back here every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And for those of you joining us for the first time today, welcome to the show, and we hope that you will become a regular viewer. And for our regular viewers, welcome back. All right, Mary Ellen. It is time for another show already.
Yes, super exciting. Well, certainly the markets, they've been exciting, but not on the joyous, positive side of things. It's certainly been a very difficult week here in the markets, but I think we're going to brighten up everyone's day with some of the work we're going to be sharing with you.
Absolutely.
So stay tuned.
Yes. In fact, let's go ahead and I'm going to give you all a quick look at what's going on in the market today and the last few days, just so you have a feel. As you can see, it's not been very pretty, to be perfectly honest. You see the Dow has been making its decline. We're making new bottoms here on the Dow and hopefully here on the S&P. NASDAQ, of course, tech heavy, that's moving pretty flat. You really do want to see that take off. That's usually an indication that the market's strong and things are looking good. And then as far as the Russell 2000, that's our small caps, and they're starting, it looks like, to bottom as well. So there is hope, Mary Ellen. We might be hitting a market bottom here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Well, it's certainly encouraging. I have certain metrics that I need to see as far as the broader markets, and they do involve simple moving averages. So I would need to see a resumption of the S&P 500 back above key areas before I would consider getting back into the market. So certainly the 50-day moving average, that blue line on our Chartwise women's chart, would be an area for me to focus on as far as not being interested until then.
Right, exactly. And you know, it's like swimming upstream, downstream. You know, you want to be with what the market is doing because it is a lot harder to pick a winner when the market is down because there aren't as many winners to pick. And speaking of winners, let's go ahead and look at our wisdom of the week. And here
Yes,
we go.
in fact, so we both are sharing our tidbits here today. And for me, trading stocks is a lot like a beauty contest. What looks best wins.
Exactly, but as mine is, but don't forget the talent competition. You need to make sure you still have all of those components in order to win the contest ultimately. So you may look good, but you also have to have a little talent under the surface. And that will bring us in to what we're going to talk about a little bit more, and that is don't buy the runner-up. And Mary Ellen, I mean, what would you say as far as a runner-up is concerned? I mean, where do you find your winners?
Well, I'm going to see if I can share my screen with you because my my screen went dead.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So what I did want to share with you, of course, is the concept that when you're looking at stocks, and you're not always going to hear the analogy of a beauty contest, but in essence, as Erin said, don't buy the runner up. What we mean by that is that you want to make sure you're in areas of strength, and you want to be in areas that are under accumulation. And that is something, Erin, maybe you can show your screen and I can walk you through
Absolutely.
that. So one of the first ways that I would do that as far as uncovering strength is if you go to that initial interface page on StockCharts.com and you go to that sector summary. And what I would tell you is that you can sort this by many various ways. So one of the first ways that I would say to do that is to go ahead and sort it by a 1 month period, because really this is going to show you over the last 4 weeks where the areas of the market are in essence holding up better than the rest of the markets. And we can see immediately real estate sector funds, utilities, consumer staples. These are all your defensive areas of the broader market. So it can be really as simple as sorting by a 1-month sort. This is, again, going to point you to where the strength is in those markets. And
yeah,
from
and looking at this, you are talking about having all those defensive sectors up there. I was going to share a little bit about that. Let me see if I can get to that page that I had. Nope. Let me get my page up here. So here it is. Okay. So what we're talking about a little bit is also kind of the rotation. So you were looking at, in fact, I'm going to just go back here and we'll go back to that sector summary, because I think this really is a strong indicator of what we're looking at. So what are the top 3 right now? Real estate, utilities, and consumer staples, all areas that are defensive. And when we say defensive, this is why we say that. So when the market comes to its top, right, and it starts to move lower, that's when you're going to start seeing the utilities, the staples, and real estate. That's when they're going to start to be strong. And so the market, we know, has been in a decline and has been very weak. And that's just telling us right there, just by looking at the fact that those are the sectors that are leading, and that tells you where you want to be. Now, granted, when the market has had a decline like we've been experiencing in the last bit, it makes it very difficult, and it's not necessarily a great idea to be in. But if you do want to be in, these are the places you want to look at as we're starting to see the market top and lower. So
very good.
Yes, so we were looking at these sectors over the past month, and I know what we're going to try and concentrate on is the consumer staples sector. And one of the reasons we talk about it as being a defensive sector, and one of the things I explain to my friends is, well, what do you mean by defensive? Well, let's think about it. When you are looking at, bad things happening, or the market is starting to turn down, what do people still always need to buy? They always need to buy the consumer staples. That's your groceries, that's your Procter and Gamble, as I used to say, toothpaste and Tampax. That's those are the things that always are going to be needed. And so
yeah,
people
so
will
let's talk about this.
Yeah,
we were talking about data farm to table, where we have gone out. Actually, we will be covering that a little bit later. I apologize. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I think it's time we're going to go ahead and break here for a commercial, and then we're going to be back and we're going to talk about that data farm to table, and then we'll look at our model and how to, kind of narrow down in that staples area, some of the ways to find those stocks that are looking beautiful and also seem to have the talent portion figured out. So we'll be right back after this short message. All right, Mary Ellen, I think we should look at some data farm to table stocks.
Yes.
We're just talking about, toothpaste and Tampax.
Yes,
go
absolutely.
ahead and look at some of those.
Yeah, so this is where Erin and I have done the work. We've gone out and we've taken a look at what is seasonally popular right now? Where are the money flows going? What sectors of the market look interesting? And from our work, it is going to be consumer staples stocks. And Erin mentioned that they are defensive in nature. There's actually a growth component in a number of these consumer staple stocks as well. So I'm pulling up XLP. This is the daily chart of the consumer staples sector. You can see it fell in line with the markets, but not quite as much. And then today we are getting a nice 1% rally within the consumer staples. A lot of these stocks offer some nice high yields that's going to maybe counterbalance certainly interest rates being at such low levels. So let's take a look at some of those stocks that we uncovered as looking compelling. Again, certainly given the very difficult dynamics that we are seeing in the broader markets. This first company is a small detergent company, CHD, Church and Dwight. We're looking at a daily price chart, and you can see that the stock is regaining its simple moving average. I'm going to go ahead and use our Chartwise women's chart so you can get a better feel. It's above not only the pink line, also above that blue line. So we like the look of it. The stock is offering a 1.2% yield, and analysts are revising earnings estimates higher for this nice stock. The next one is a bit larger. It's Coca-Cola. KO is the ticker symbol. Again, a daily price chart. Take a look at that action today. It's up 1.5% after very nicely and orderly pullback to this upward trending blue line, which is part of our model. The stock today has broken back up above that pink line in a bullish fashion, and we are getting the beginnings of other positive signals for this stock. The next name is one that we covered at the end of last week's Chartwise Women's show, Procter and Gamble. Some of you may remember that. The stock had gapped up in response to very strong earnings, pulled back. We're not quite back up above that pink line just yet. The stock's rallying 1.3%. This is a 2.6% yielder in that consumer staples space. And one last name that we can look at. This one is certainly defensive. It's SAM, Boston Beer. And this particular stock has held in really well, very strong earnings numbers, 23% this year, 21% next year. So super strong earnings. It has defied the downtrend in the broader markets. And when you see that, that is a sure bet that this is a strong stock. When the market pressures are lifted, it could in fact take off. So Erin, I'm going to pass the baton over to you.
All right. So what was interesting is Mary Ellen did her research separately, I guess you could say, a little bit. And then I, on my own, did a scan using our Chartwise Women model. And I did it simply on the consumer staples sector. And, you know, what we look for is we want momentum to be rising. We want to see a close above the 50-day EMA and a close above the chandelier, which is the pink line. So if you want to have this scan, you can email me at erinh@stockcharts.com, but we can do the work for you right here at Chartwise Women, and we will give you give you all the answers. Well, we'll try. Anyway, so when I did this scan, it was fascinating because you did just show the Church and Dwight company. You just showed Coca-Cola, right?
I did, Erin. I want to apologize, but I guess great minds think alike. As far as those winning stocks, we want to be in front of that beautiful chart.
Yes, and that's what's so great is, you know, it just shows you that you know, when you're looking at, you know, a stock, even, you know, we have slightly different, you know, looks. And so, but we're still coming up with some of the same things just using the pink line model. And so a lot of that work ends up getting done for you. So when I did this, like I said, on just the consumer staples sector, I only got these 5 results. So it really made it nice.
And maybe could we quickly show it without the consumer staples, that chart, the thumbnail view of all of the stocks that fit the criteria that we've been sharing with you over these last several weeks. We have been sharing with you insights into stocks characteristics that are positive. And so Erin has kindly put it all together into this wonderful scan, which you can run. Today we did it on consumer staples because that's an attractive area in the markets, but you can of course also run it on the entire market. And we can maybe take a quick peek at some of those results on the
hang on just a second here. I do have the dogs that have decided to go crazy right now. So anyway, so what I have done, hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to try and shut them up here just a moment. It is live. Don't you love that? Live TV. All right, well, I don't know, that makes it a little bit better. My daughter just left for school. Anyway, so what I did instead of doing just the, looking at these consumer staples, what I did is I narrowed it down just to, a stock that has decent volume. And volume means, how many shares are traded. And so if there's only a few shares that get traded, there can be a lot of manipulation with the price. So you actually do want to kind of find these stocks that have a little bit higher volume. And then you also want to, I like to look for stocks that are at least $10 and above. And it's for the same reason. I don't like a lot of volatility, meaning I don't want it jumping around a lot. If you go from, $9 to $10, that's a 10% gain. And, some of these stocks can do that. So I took that out. I want to see the momentum. That's what this piece is. We want to see momentum stronger than it was the day before. So we want to see it moving upward. You want to see positive momentum, right? In anything, you want that momentum. You want to move forward. So that's what we're looking for. And then we have the 50-day simple moving average, which is the blue line, and our chandelier, which is the pink line. And so what I did is I wanted to look at anything that shows price going above the chandelier recently while it's above the 50, the blue line. And then I also wanted to say, or the close, the price could just now be crossing above that blue line, but it's also already above the pink line. So we're looking for stocks that are just now moving above both lines. And that's really what we're talking about there.
Perfect.
So yeah, you run that. And well, let's see, we're going to get a lot of scan results. We got 49. So that's what makes it difficult, right? You get all of these results, and how do you figure out how to, narrow that down? And there's a bunch of different ways, but really it just comes down to, looking at it. And I'm going to replace this chart list here so that I can see exactly what's going on with all of these. Because once you have all of these, and I know it can be very overwhelming, but that's kind of why we're here, to give you those strength sectors to help you figure out where is important to be. So
very good.
I'm going to look at it in what we call candle glance. And we did this earlier before the show. We were looking at some of these and it was like, oh, wow. Yeah, some of these I'm really interested in. I like the looks of them. And some, of course, have been making some really big moves today. But what you do then is you can go through and for me, I put that momentum piece on the bottom. So if momentum is rising, if things are looking good in the inside, the talent portion, if things are looking good, the momentum is going forward and moving up, that's when I'm interested. So a lot of these you can see are just now turning upward. I know this one was, I think that did, I'm sorry, that was, I think, earnings. That's why we got that big move. But looking for things that are just now getting at those support levels or resistance levels, I think all of those look pretty good. So let's go ahead and I'm going to look at one of these and then we can talk a little bit more about the model when we look at it. Are these, any of these like really, floating your boat right now? Are you seeing anything beautiful?
Yeah, there actually are a number that BITA, they're SPWR, simply because it's bucked the downtrend.
Oh, yeah.
So
I know
really,
this one we were looking at earlier as well. So you can see at this point, we have got, I'm going to move this to our pink line chart. And here we go. So this one's honestly been on quite the run, hasn't it? This one, we would have honestly wanted to get in, back here when it came above both lines. It's already made a big run. However, it's telling you it's done that pullback. It went back below the pink line, but it's still so far above the blue line that I wouldn't be getting rid of it at this point. Getting in it, I think, is a possibility here because you do have that rising momentum. You do have that volume piece that is showing a lot of volume. You can just look at the volume bars here and see that a lot of interest going into.
So each of these characteristics are hitting part of that model that Erin and I have been putting together over our last 5 shows, and today is a bit of a culmination of that, where we're sharing with you the results of this model and how really quite simply it can be that you don't need to complicate the markets if you put together these, not only this chart type of this type of chart for your work, but then you overlay other characteristics such as volume, which is being pointed out here, and going back historically into that mid-June period, the price already was above the 10-day line, pops up on volume, and you can see the nice significant advance beyond that. And as long as the stock stays above the blue line, you're still in good standing despite that drop. And
Yes.
indeed, you can take advantage of that next leg up. So all of this is really super powerful. We're hoping that you're able to capture that power and see really how simple it can be. Certainly, it's all of this takes time to master, of course.
Right, but just getting this visual, I think it gives people an idea of what is going on here. And I think you're also an intermediate term trader. That means that I don't look at my account every single day. You don't need to look at what your stocks are doing every single day unless you really want that heartache or the elation or the that bipolar feeling every other day. This model, once you have figured out and you're in something, and you can start watching it. You can watch the charts, but you don't have to watch it every day. You just need to have your finger on the pulse. And that's why having things stay above the blue line is so important, because if you're an intermediate term trader, you're not necessarily going to be bopping in and out of stocks. And this is one way to keep you from having to do that and look at time at what's going on.
Very good.
So let's see, what other ones do we have in here that look interesting? So here were the ones that we were looking at in consumer staples, and I don't think we looked at these last 3. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those up and give me your thoughts, Mary Ellen, when we
Sure. Yeah, this actually was on my list initially, but I did not like the fact that that green line, it's your 200-day simple moving average, is trending downward. It's now positioned at 26. So oftentimes when stocks have these downtrend reversal attempts, they can easily be met with resistance at that green line. So just note that would still be a nice 10% advance from where we are now, or close, maybe 8%. So I wouldn't deny that, but just going forward.
Yeah, momentum is doing pretty good here. But yeah, one of the things that in my studies with Decision Point, my company, is that when you have your blue line below your green line, like we're seeing right now, where you have that faster moving average below the slower one, that's when you're swimming against the current. More than likely this stock is set up in a way that it's more likely to go down. You're going to get those bearish results, we call them, rather than a bullish result. So you really do want to pay attention to that. You're getting the fact that both of these, the price went above both of those lines, but if I looked at this chart more closely, I would probably not be thrilled with it, just because it is so far below that 200-day simple moving average.
All right.
What is our next one that I had? Back here.
And then we can certainly move on to our,
yes.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, that happened for sure. Okay, there is tobacco. And I'm going to put this on our blue line or pink line chart. And there you go. So this one came up on the radar because it was already above the blue. and today it went above the pink, so it's above both of those. I think this is kind of an interesting looking chart. You now notice the difference in where that 200-day simple moving average is, that green line, and where price is. That's a lot more encouraging than what we saw on that other chart. This would probably bother me a little bit because we are looking at the volume, and that big red volume bar says there's a lot of what we call distribution. And typically that's not something you want to be involved in necessarily until you start seeing the black volume bars come in, that you get that.
All right.
Okay. All right, excellent. So I think I had one more, and then we're going to go ahead and we'll look at our, yeah, that happened.
I don't know if we have time for that one more.
Oh, yeah,
I'm
okay,
not
no
sure.
problem.
Yeah.
I'll let you steal the screen.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that happened.
Well, yeah, if we want to introduce that.
Yeah, go for it.
So each week we like to share with you some sort of news that is highly unusual. Each week we're not finding it difficult to find items of interest. And this today, actually earlier this week, Frankie Zabata, he did a crossing of the English Channel on a jet-powered flyboard. And off he went. Take a look at this. Is another photograph of him high up above that channel. And it was super, very futuristic to see someone just floating across the top of a great large body of water. And so in light of that, for those of you that are interested in, let's say, safer modes of transportation across something such as a great English Channel body of water, we're going to take you to looking at some of these airline stocks. So we are in the industrial sector. Let me show you how you can do that. You can just very simply click on the name of that industrial sector, go ahead into airlines, and you can sort it by scooter. This is that StockCharts technical rating that will get you in front of those better performing names. Probably only get to one name, but this is Delta Airlines, DAL. Company came out with very good earnings. They were one of the first companies to report during this earnings season back here in the beginning of July. Stock rallied in response, but more recently it pulled back to this 50-day simple moving average. Let's go to our Chartwise Women to get an even better view, and we can see despite the pullback, it's still above that blue line. This is what we spoke about. So if we get a price break above that pink line, this in fact could be a very, very interesting stock as a re-entry point to Delta. And then JetBlue is another one that we can take a quick look at. And this one has held in really quite well despite a difficult market. It's above both the pink and the blue line. It's having a nice 1.5% rally here. Erin, I don't know if you have any other airline stocks or anything to add?
I think that's a really interesting one too, because you can see it's just getting ready to test that top that's back there in July. It went above both those pink and blue lines. So I think that it looks pretty healthy, honestly.
Very good, yes.
Mary Ellen, it's just about time to finish up the show.
Oh my gosh, wonderful.
It goes so fast.
It does, but.
I do want to leave everybody too with Mary Ellen and I are going to be at the Money Show next week in San Francisco. So if any of you are around and would like to hook up with us, we would love to see you.
By all means, come by. We would love to meet you.
Absolutely.
In San Francisco at the Hyatt at Union Square.
That's right. Excellent. Well, I want to thank all of you for joining us today on Chartwise Women. Please do complete that survey as you exit. We'd love to read those comments and find out where we can help you more. As a quick reminder, Chartwise Women does air Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday. Happy trading.